Hello everyone! I am so sorry for being away over these chapters. I was dealing with some unfortunate life problems. My internet went out for a near whole month, and I was dying.
Oh my god.
But I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to sit down at my keyboard, and I am more than happy to start this book club back up. As you can see from the title, which is probably full of numbers, I apologize for that, I have 4 whole chapters to cover today. This will be less of a book club and more of a book session. You are in my class now, so you will take out your pen and paper, you will listen, and you will write about One Piece, of course, because it's not that serious. The way we'll be covering these chapters is as follows. I will recap each chapter one by one to refresh us all on what's happened in the story. Once I've recapped every chapter from 1142 to 1145, we will then discuss the bits that stick out to me, the bits I wish to expand on, and the bits I believe may be important. I say may because, as always, I am not Oda, who knows what this crazy freak is planning. Due to this video being longer than my other chapter review videos, I am going to do something I don't usually do within said review videos. I will be, drumroll please, hitting you with a sponsor. Have you ever read One Piece and thought, damn, I sure wish I could read this anywhere in the world? Global unity of a silly pirate manga, just what Luffy would want. Well, guess what? With NordVPN, you can do just that. NordVPN is the fastest and most reliable VPN out there. Whether you're streaming, gaming, traveling, or just scrolling at the coffee shop, NordVPN keeps your data locked down and totally private. With just one click, NordVPN encrypts your connection, hiding your IP address and keeping you safe from hackers, snoopers, and sketchy Wi-Fi networks, so the FBI can't see you googling someone's big fat honkers. I'm talking about Zoro. With over 5,000 servers in 60 countries, you can access content from pretty much anywhere. If you want to watch Australian Netflix, you can do it with the click of a button. We have tons of One Piece on it for some reason. And it's fast, so you won't be sacrificing speed for safety, especially since NordVPN also includes threat protection, along with the VPN itself. If you care about privacy, speed, and security, get NordVPN today. Plus, with a 30-day money-back guarantee, you can try NordVPN risk-free. Head over to NordVPN and be sure to use my code to get an exclusive deal today, found both in the description and the pinned comments. Or you can type in nordvpn.com/melontea, and that's melontea with an E-E-E. A VPN is so worth it, so grab that deal now. And thank you so much NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Alright, that segment is done, and listen, book clubs need funding too. That wine you're drinking isn't cheap, so I really do appreciate the support from my sponsors because they let me talk about One Piece as my full-time job. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started. Chapter 1142 is titled What I'm Afraid Of. The cover story shows Yamato beating the shit out of Who's Who. Good. The chapter starts with the children of Walrus School being attacked by what seems to be a cartoonish nightmare. Angie expresses her shock at a beast from the underworld appearing in the sun world, while she and her fellow teachers move to protect the children. As the principal of Walrus School jumps forward, appropriately named Tusk, we discover he was a former Giant Pirates member. Duh, of course Giant Pirate members would still exist around Elbaf. How silly of me for not thinking of that. As the teachers go to fight the beast within the school, Saul discovers some children have fallen asleep and seem to be walking away due to a white arrow. One of the teachers tells Saul to not touch the children, the teacher in question being covered in blood. The arrow the kids are following is assumed to be Gunko's power at this point, because she's the only lass I know who has arrows shooting out of her. One of the teachers blows a horn to alert all of Elbaf of danger. Saul originally thinking against it until seeing the monsters that have appeared in the Sun World's forests. We then cut to the underworld, where Loki is standing and talking down to the Straw Hats, claiming the single chain on his leg can't possibly hold him. Yet, interestingly enough, Loki says, If you want to save Elbaf, undo the final cuff. Well, Loki, if you're telling them to unchain you, it seems that one chain can actually hold you down. But I don't know. Loki, seemingly frustrated, yells that he can bring ruin to them all while swinging his hammer. This sends a spark of lightning throughout the edge of Elbaf, hitting a tree in the process and setting a branch on fire. Back at Walrus School, the teachers are talking about the monsters appearing in the Sun World, which Angie recognizes as the nightmares previously said by the children in her class. As we cut to the last page, which is a double-page spread, we see all the monsters in their entirety. The woman in the corner, who seems to look like Big Mom, especially after one of the children said they're afraid of their mother. Scratching my chin. How interesting. The three holy knights are shown to be watching everything. I especially found it hilarious St. Somers just pulled up a chair to watch the show. His whole living room was teleported with him, so what else is he going to do, I guess? May as well pull out the popcorn if you have it. Somers also says, to know love is to wound one another. That's an incredibly nihilistic way of looking at love, but I have to say I really dig this guy's whole character as an antagonist so far. Somers asks Gunko what she's afraid of, and the chapter ends with her saying, Nika. It seems the drums of liberation aren't a joyous sound to all. Chapter 1143 is titled Holy Knights, opening with Saul following the sleepwalking children. As Saul tries to reach out and help them, he's immediately met with a sudden spiked barrier surrounding the kids. Back in the Western Village, Dory, Broggy, and the Straw Hats are alerted of the odd happenings occurring at Walrus School. Unfortunately, most of the giants are drunk, as well as Brooke. How does a skeleton get drunk? Yo. We discover Elbaf has a firefighting team, which makes sense, but the firefighters get immediately taken out by one of the giant's nightmares. Somers laughs at all these tragic events, and some of his lines here are just so awesomely sadistic. He says every love has its thorns, while also saying there's real emotion in killing, followed with death by love. Isn't that just so exciting? While showing off his power and being revealed to have the thorn fruit. As you all know, I love the theme of love. All forms of love. Romantic, platonic, familial, etc, etc. So for Oda to introduce a villain who has a somewhat dark view of love, just to get his rocks off by manipulating it and using it to elicit emotion thanks to the grief that comes with losing loved ones. Well, guys, it's peak. Somers is shaping up to be a very fun villain for me. I am not immune to sadistic villains who use love as a weapon. Wait. Somers also says, this is the baby game for babies. And thank you, Stephen Paul, for that wonderful line of translation. I really mean it, it had me cracking up. We also see how Killingham's power works as Somers is put to sleep for a while, dreaming of salt that Killingham then pulls from Somers' dream cloud. However, we find the food they're eating isn't solid. It gives you 0 calories and 0 energy. Not to be a Sanji fan, but I can only imagine Sanji would absolutely hate this apparent dream food, considering you could eat it while starving and you'd still be starving. I.e., what Killingham creates is solid, but it doesn't seem to actually exist. If anything is a cruel joke, it's Killingham's power. Gunko tells us that she knows the Straw Hats are on the island, and the Holy Knights watch in sick amusement as the children begin walking into the fire that Loki caused. There's an especially chilling line as someone, presumably Gunko, says, not to worry, if the kids die, we can send more. Always nice to see the 1% with a heart. Back in the underworld, Loki is still demanding he be released, as he threatens begins to cause more chaos in the Sun world, Hyrule moves to release Loki in fear of people getting hurt, while Zoro stops him because Luffy is already on it. Luffy goes to take Loki out, as was their technical deal, but Zoro yells at Luffy to go easy on him due to his wounds. Both Zoro and Luffy know Loki isn't faking his wounds. Zoro kicked the man after all, and Luffy simply taps him. I'll be honest, I can't actually tell if Luffy touched him at all, because as Zoro said, Loki was already at death's door, hence why Loki just fell over. Luffy begs Hyrule to help Loki, and this isn't due to promises or deals. Luffy simply doesn't want to see Loki die. The giants talk about what an irredeemable scumbag Loki is, and I assume Sanji is the one saying the giants hate him that much, since he's been questioning what's happening ever since he popped into the scene. We also discover Loki's horns are real, which I had guessed. Side note, Luffy sitting on Loki's horns is such a cute panel. Talk of Loki's horns lead to talks of his dad, Harold, giving us a small flashback of Harold and Hyrule as kids. We see Harold telling his sons to work together for Elbaf, while Loki beats Hyrule up and calls him a bastard, due to Hyrule having a different, lower class mother. This memory sends Hyrule into a fit of rage, moving to kill Loki and claiming he'll never forgive Loki. But this gets Loki talking. After telling Hyrule to go ahead and kill him, he continues to say, "Take a look at the woods around us. They all say I went and killed Dad with pure murder in my heart, but you don't believe that. Do you?" The chapter ends on these words, leaving us questioning Harold and the state of Elbaf. Chapter 1144 is titled A Time for Warriors, and the cover story is Yamato getting bitches. I knew he'd follow in Odin's path and get a harem. Also, the Wano Carpenter is crying, but this isn't about him. The chapter opens with Frankie and Ripley at an old building, finding Bonnie and Lilith already there. Lilith says she'll settle down and live in this building, presumably to work on her studies while operating on Kuma. And Ripley tells us the building is over 3,000 years old. A nightmare monster suddenly appears behind them, looking suspiciously like a freaky version of Zeus. And for some reason, Frankie is feeling a little romantical here. Oh, Elbaf, land of mystery and wonder. What the hell are you talking about? In the Western Village, another huge nightmare monster is quickly approaching, this one being a skeleton. The giants move to fight and insist on getting the Straw Hats to safety. In this same scene, Colin is begging to be part of the fight, yelling that he's the son of Gaban. But an adult says to him, "Exactly, you're the son of Gaban. You're not Gaban." I'm sniffing some father-related insecurity. Chief Yarrell is told of an intruder that looks like Shanks taking down the castle guards. And Jinbei says, the quickest answer to most mysteries in this world is a devil fruit. I love you so much, Jinbei, a man with a good head on his shoulders. It took us over 20 years, but we finally have a character going. Okay, that's a devil fruit, at any weird occurrence. The Straw Hats demand to help, but Yarrell doesn't allow them due to the Straw Hats being guests. Also, Dory and Broggy are in the bathroom together for some reason. Nami spots Colin with his own ship, to which she asks if they can join him. And Colin, overjoyed, allows them to come along while saying he's the captain. Nami finds this adorable, and this whole interaction is just so sweet. Cut back to the Holy Nights. Gunko seems to be listening to music, the song she's listening to being called New World. I'm sure it's not lost on any of us that this is Brooke's song from the beginning of Fishman Island. A Soul King fan, perhaps? Saul attempts to stop the kids with shields, but this only leads to the children being hurt instead, showing us every attempt to stop the children only leads to disaster. Back at the Western Village, monsters appear to be overtaking the area, until Dory and Broggy pop up with a combined group attack. Not only them, but Gaban also appears to help Elbaf. And this double-page spread just made my panties drop. The panel of Dory and Broggy crossing their weapons happens is just, that's so awesome. I just love them. I continue to think Gabon is hot and sexy, by the way. The chapter ends on the appearance of these three legends as they fight off the nightmares. Chapter 1145 is titled Wildfire in Forest Sector 2, Branch Route 8. Dear Lord, is that a mouthful? The cover story shows page 1, bloodied but alive as Alti hugs him. Once again, this is what you get for wearing a bucket hat. The chapter starts with Goldberg talking to his shield. That seems to be a Big Mom homie, as Zoro and Sanji hunt together to take out a dinosaur called Groggysaurus. We will surely be talking about that, so just hold your horses. Sanji talks to Goldberg about cooking the dinosaur, which is super cute because these two are both cooks, so I'm sure they're excited to yap about stewing meat. Zoro asks what Goldberg's shield is all about, in which Goldberg explains that shield belonged to his dad and came to life when trying to vanquish Big Mom. Zoro says, oh, so he's like Zeus. Continuing on to say Zeus now serves Nami as a manservant. Well, a cloud servant, really, and Goldberg is shocked due to the giants knowing Zeus as one of the most exalted homies. As everyone groups back up at Loki, Loki explains the Holy Knights have appeared in Elbaf. Hyrule then tells Loki, you must have given them a reason to seek revenge. Oh my god, Hyrule, girl, I love you, but don't go siding with the 1%. The world government will kill a little girl just for being born. Loki swears he's never encountered the Holy Knights before, and in a rare occurrence, Luffy seems to be actually listening. As in, he's taking in the information and is considering the fact there are knights from the world government. Good boy, Luffy, good boy. Zoro and Sanji appear with the dead dinosaur in tow, to which Zoro says he delivered the killing blow, and Sanji calls him a graceful soaring broccoli. He got me. I laughed. As they cook the meat, Luffy seems somewhat desperate to heal Loki up. He's shoving food down his throat, running towards him with soup, all while Loki is flustered at what the hell Luffy is trying to do. Even as Luffy accidentally makes Loki's injuries worse, in which he apologizes for, Sanji once again questions why the giants hate Loki so much due to Girth enjoying Loki being hurt. A bit odd for Sanji to question the situation instead of just swooning over women being mean. So he must be dead curious about the Loki situation. Zoro continues to believe Loki is lying regarding the promise he made to Luffy, so he demands Loki tell them where Shanks is. Loki responds with, why should I tell you when you haven't upheld your end of the bargain and unlocked my last chain? I mean, Loki has a point, I'm afraid. I sure as hell wouldn't want to tell anything to the guy who kicked me while I was chained to a damn tree. But hey, maybe that's just me. Loki reveals that he relates to Luffy's idolizing of Shanks, as he had a pirate he admired when he was a boy. Loki had challenged this pirate to a fight so he could join his crew, a fight which he'd lost. We see Whitebeard in this flashback. Hey Big Papa, meaning Loki's idol was clearly a pirate of huge significance if they could talk back to Whitebeard so casually. Loki then says he was born in the wrong generation. Sorry Loki, I love you, but that is such a lame thing to say. As we get back to somewhere around the Walrus School, Dory, Broggy, and Gaban are all taking out the nightmare monsters. Gaban says he can feel a trio of abnormal voices, presumably the Holy Knights, and says if even Elbaf isn't safe anymore, then it's truly the end of days. Wow. Thanks, Gaban. Totally not ominous at all. We see the firefighting crew of Elbaf try and fail to take out the flames on the Adam Tree, as the Holy Knights see this too and watch on in amusement. Gunko talks about the kids being burned into bones, as Somers laughs in amusement. It's giving Doffy. But the Straw Hats suddenly appear as Jinbe manages to take out the fire with his own water-wielding abilities. Jinbe, if you want my number and address, you can have it, babe. Everyone cheers in joy at the children being saved, until Gunko appears with the threat to kidnap Colin alongside the other Elbaf children. And the chapter ends with Gunko standing above the Straw Hats, ready to fight. Alright, we're all caught up. That was a damn lot to recap, but it's important to refresh on what's previously happened so we can discuss it in detail. Let's get into it one by one on the topics I believe are important to focus on. First of all, Big Mum. The stocks just keep going up. At this point, you all know I'm an avid believer that Big Mum will be back in Elbaf, because I do not believe she died in Wano, considering she went out screaming in vengeance. Not to mention her powers essentially create natural disasters, making her an actual force of nature. So why would the core of the earth possibly stop her? There's also the addition that Luffy made a promise to Katakuri to defeat Big Mum, something Luffy himself hasn't actually done. But now, throughout Elbaf, Big Mum has been mentioned multiple times. From Hyrule telling Luffy they'd heard of Big Mum's defeat, to Gert saying her and Big Mum used to be friends, to a chapter being called An Older Woman, which could mean many things, but feels a bit more hinted towards Big Mum. And now we have Goldberg telling us the Giants went on a crusade to try and take out Big Mum once, his shield being clearly embedded with Big Mum's power. Big Mum has such a strong connection with Elbaf. Even her own daughter, Lola, is connected to Loki. We are seeing pieces of her scattered all over this country, so I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up bursting out of a volcano with a newfound anger. Believe it if you want to believe it, but it's pretty clear Big Mum will be important to Elbaf in some way, shape or form. Next, let's get to the Holy Knights. Saint Somers is just delightful. Not in a good guy way, in a sadistic way. One Piece is so heavily focused on love, on caring for your family and protecting the ones you adore. So introducing a man who only finds pleasure in the pain of love is just... that's so fantastic. Every rose has its thorns, in the same way love can have rough edges. But Somers only represents the thorns. He only cares for the turmoil and grief, and he finds a sick joy in it. He also just has so many good lines that represent his thorns. One of my favorites being, "Love is the passion to reach out and squeeze someone tight, even as you see the thorns up close," i.e., love is when you hold someone close, flaws and all. This is something Luffy has done time and time again, not just to the Straw Hats but to those he loves. But Somers is so sickening because he seems to seek out that desperation. He enjoys the struggle and voices how the best example of this is between parents and children, because the agony is extreme. Somers' sadistic streak is made apparent as he finishes this line of thinking with, "There's real emotion in killing." Now, I have to wonder, is Oda kind of glancing at the audience with this line? As we know, Oda doesn't like killing characters. He's also stated he wants a manga where he can provoke emotion that doesn't just come from killing off characters. So when I look at Somers, and I look back at Kuma and Bonnie in Egghead, and I think about just how many people wanted Kuma to die, who still want Kuma to die because it's more impactful. Not my thoughts, by the way. I have to wonder if Oda's being a bit tongue-in-cheek with Somers. There's real emotion in killing. Of course there is. But, well, Oda's given us an antagonist who is a sadistic freak saying this. So, you can decide what he's trying to say with that. Saint Killingham I have no thoughts on as of yet. He just has a very cool power. Gunko, though, is very much of focus. She seems to be incredibly stoic. Somers even calling her the woman who never knew love. And she seems totally inhuman on every level. Yet we're shown she does have one fear, which is Nika. We're also shown her listening to music as a hobby, the song she's listening to being New World. She fears Nika, who brings a new dawn, yet listens to music labeled New World. This already brings into question her fear. What about Nika is she afraid of exactly? I used to think it's because she works for the world government, so Nika changing the era would scare her. But since she's listening to New World, is it possible she's afraid of caving to Nika? Does Gunko want to see the new dawn? But her position as a holy knight would lead to Nika smiting her for her atrocities she's committed. I don't mean to get biblical, but Nika is seen as a god, and in one Western religious text, that being the Bible. There's passages explaining that one should fear God. I'm not sure if other religions hold this same message because I haven't gone that deep, but I'd assume there's similar ideas. My point is, Gunko could very much believe in Nika, but that doesn't mean she wouldn't fear him. The one who sinned should fear God the most. Should they not? I'm not religious myself, so I cannot approve or deny this on a personal level. What I'm saying is, Gunko attends Nika's church every week in her Sunday best. Also, interesting, Gunko has a hobby in listening to music when Nika's own existence is surrounded by music. The beating of drums and the dum dut dut da and so on and so forth. Something music is important in One Piece. I believe music is the essence of humanity, as it is an art. I have a feeling Oda believes this too, and it made me question if Gunko is being humanized here, but I do not believe she is being humanized to be redeemed, as she is still talking about children being burnt alive. I believe she's being humanized because Oda's reminding us the ones committing these crimes, the ones mercilessly moving to kill children, are not monsters or some boogeyman that just came into existence. They are still human. And doesn't that make their acts of cruelty just that much worse? Next on the list is Zoro and Sanji. This will be quick, I promise. Zoro is still being a prickly little thing. He's still thinking Loki is a big fat liar, even though Loki is hitting back and telling Zoro they didn't uphold their end of the bargain. Loki has also now said multiple times he does know where Shanks is. And considering Loki just failed his biggest bluff of all before saying this, and he explained the Holy Knights are on the island, I'm more inclined to believe him. Luffy also seems to believe him, since Luffy and Loki's interactions are now just slapstick events of Luffy helping Loki out. I don't know why Luffy would share food with someone if he didn't pick up on some good vibes, so I trust Luffy's trust in Loki. I just find it hilarious Sanji's desperately trying to figure out why the hell everyone hates Loki and no one has answered him. He's asked 2 times now, like someone please talk to him. I got off track, sorry, I promise the Zoro and Sanji section is quick. So basically, I've been thinking this for a while, but I have a bet Sanji and Zoro are going to be getting a proper combined attack in Elbaf, and not just them working off the other, or separate attacks they yell with different names, but an actual combined attack. Ever since I saw Dory and Broggy's combo attack all the way back in Little Garden, considering Sanji and Zoro did parallel those two due to the hunting competition that led to a 100-year argument, I've had the idea Zoro and Sanji will get a combo attack. So from them working together in Alabasta, to them fighting together in Long Ring Longland's Davy Back fight, to them fighting together again in Thriller Bark, then to the two of them taking out Akuma Bot together once the time skip starts, and finally getting to Wano where they honestly need each other for fighting King and Queen, leading to a magnificent double-page spread of Zoro and Sanji throwing out moves side by side. I'd say there's been a slow building of indication that these two, as Luffy's wings, will be getting a proper combined attack. So why is Elbaf the point of development? Because of Dory and Broggy. It's not lost on me that chapter 1144 ends with Dory and Broggy using their combo attack, just for chapter 1145 to immediately start with Zoro and Sanji fighting together to hunt. You know, hunting. The thing that tied them with Dory and Broggy to begin with. Not just that, but the dinosaur Zoro and Sanji take out is called a Groggysaurus. In Long Ring Longland, the game they played together was Groggy Ball. Groggy Ball was when Zoro and Sanji actually started to fight together, actually realized they were compatible on the battlefield, and truly started to develop as Luffy's wings. Yes, Long Ring Longland is, and always has been, important. I've been saying this for God knows how long, but Long Ring Longland is good, and I will find you. It's been over 20 years since Oda paralleled Zoro and Sanji with Dory and Broggy, and now that we've gotten to Elbaf, he's reminding us of this very fact. As always, I'm not Oda, but I'd say the chances of Zoro and Sanji getting a duo attack the way Dory and Brogy have one is very likely. Also real quick, the move of Sanji shooting Zoro into the air isn't actually a proper combo attack, because Sanji's the only one yelling it. Just adding that in there because I know it might seem confusing otherwise. Finally, the last thing to touch on is Loki, but also Colin, Hyrule, and Shamrock. I've noticed there seems to be an ongoing theme in Elbaf here, that theme being fathers and sons. Loki and Hyrule talk about their father together, even showing a mini flashback of them with their father. As Loki implies, they both know Harold did something bad to Elbaf's land. Colin is trying to fight as a warrior due to his dad being Gaban, only to be thrown aside because he's not Gaban. And we have Shamrock, whose thought to be father was introduced in the last arc, his father being Saint Garling, of course. Shamrock is part of this because I can smell the daddy issues on him. Shamrock, very importantly, is not a saint. He's a noble, yes, but not a saint. He was not introduced as one. He's never called one. And Sommers and killing him being introduced as saints directly after his introduction makes this a lot more obvious. Yes, even in the original Japanese, Shamrock is still not introduced as a saint. And I highly doubt Oda just forgot to call Shamrock a saint in his title card. This detail is key, because if he's a noble and a figureland, and his own daddy is a saint, why is Shamrock omitted from the saint title? Every single celestial dragon we've ever met has been a saint without fail, so my only guess is it has to do with blood. I have a sneaking suspicion Shamrock is not a pure-blooded noble, while his daddy is, so Shamrock isn't allowed to be a saint by blood. This would perfectly work with Elbaf's themes, as it would especially parallel Hyruden's own situation, with Hyrule unable to be the ruler of Elbaf due to his own blood. Loki, on the other hand, seems to be a direct duplicate of his father. He has the horns, he has the strength, yet he's seen as an embarrassment due to killing his own father. The father Elbaf thinks he killed out of pure hatred. Loki claims this isn't true, and he even claims Hyrule knows this isn't true as well. Then we get to Colin, who appears to be replicating Gaban. Gaban is a powerful pirate, one of legend, and Colin seems to want to live up to that as well. Yet, even though he desperately wants to fight, being the son of Gaban isn't enough, because he isn't Gaban. What I'm seeing here, or what I'm predicting, is an underlying theme of sons in the shadows of their fathers. All of these sons are related to their fathers by blood, and usually being related by blood isn't something Oda cares for, but it's important here because it is a societal pressure. It doesn't matter if one hates or loves their father. A son will forever feel the overwhelming pressure of being their father, either for better or for worse, throughout their lives. Colin has a father complex. It's been made clear as day when he's told he isn't Gaban, something that appears to upset him. Hyrule and Loki seem to both feel complicated over their father. Hyrule never got the blood rights of proper royalty, while Loki is directly of his father's purest blood, the horns connecting him to Harold. These two princes live in the shadow of their father due to Elbaf revering Harold, and Shamrock, I don't know, because we know nothing of his relationship with his father yet. But if Garling has become an important character, and Shamrock is missing that saint label, we can sure bet some looming shadows exist over Shamrock. With this connection to blood fathers and blood sons, I think it would be sweet if Usopp were in the middle of this. Usopp absolutely adores his father. He only set out to sea because of his father, so Usopp having moments with Colin would be adorable. At the same time, I can see Oda possibly taking the route of, just because he's your blood father doesn't mean you have to stay in his shadow, i.e. Luffy's own mentor is Shanks, and while while I wouldn't call Shanks a father figure, he is still an older man Luffy chose to admire. Just because you are your father's son doesn't mean you have to be him, and it doesn't mean you have to be chained to a destiny determined by blood. I don't know where Oda is going with it, but I am really excited for the messages he'll portray in Elbaf. Oh, also the super old building. I have nothing to say about this yet. It just looks super weird and fleshy, and it scares me a little. And Loki's pirate mentor. Most of us are assuming this is rocks, me included. And I also have nothing to say about this yet because we hardly know anything about rocks. So I can't put pieces together right now. So, in saying all that, what do you guys think? I apologize if I glossed over anything, I just touched on what I believe is important. So if you think there's something I missed, let me know. Also, I want to say for the record, I was right. Loki was bluffing and he did just fall over. It took him a swing, but he went tumbling down. I know your game, Oda. Don't try to trick me. If you guys think these longer chapter review videos are more enjoyable than my single chapter ones, do let me know. I'm happy to change my system, and your reactions will determine what I do in the future. Release your thoughts in the comments, but remember to just be nice to each other. We are civil in this book club. Please take note I only read the officials, so these chapter videos will only coincide with the officials. I'd really appreciate it if everyone in the comments could respect this notion as well. If you'd like to see my chapter reactions in real time, you can join me on my Twitch or my YouTube VOD channel. Please be aware they're a bit rambly because I get too excited about One Piece to collect myself in my live streams. With that being said, thank you and bye.